Massachusetts can score from just about anywhere on the field. The defense is somewhat less experienced than the offense. The Minutemen start only 2 seniors amidst a mixture of juniors and sophomores. They play a 5-2-4 defense, which is certainly nothing new to UConn. It'll be interesting to see whether the Massachusetts defense can hold down Tony Jordan, who is number 3 in rushing in the Yankee Conference. Coach Bob Pickett considers this a championship game for his Minutemen. A win today will virtually assure his team of the conference championship with only one more conference game left this year.
WHUS Sports presents UConn Husky Football. This afternoon from Memorial Stadium in Storrs, Connecticut, it's the Huskies against the Minutemen of the University of Massachusetts. This afternoon's UConn on WHUS is made possible through underwriting grants from Husky's Restaurant, the Villa Spirit Shop, Subway of Storrs, and the UConn Friends of Soccer. Now, for all the action of UConn football, here are Steve Tefft and Mike Bronitsky.
Good afternoon from Memorial Stadium on a frosty day here in Storrs. It's UConn Husky football in the homecoming game against UMass. The kickoff has just been made. The kicker for UMass, Sandro Vitiello, kicked it out of the end zone. And the UConn offense, led by Al Allison, will take over at their own 20. The first play is a handoff to Tony Jordan. He gets nothing as he tried to go right down the middle. He stopped right at the line of scrimmage for no gain. Good afternoon, folks. I'm Steve Tefft along with Mike Bronitsky. And as I said, this is the homecoming game for UConn. The game just started, and it is a 2nd down and 9 to go for UConn. They picked up a yard on the play.
Interesting formation on that last play, Steve. UConn opened up with a power I with 3 running backs in the backfield. The first time we've seen that this year.
As Coach Nadzak said at the Tuesday press luncheon, they might use that most of the day. They again go with the power I to the right. Allison gives to Jordan up the middle again. He gets about 2 yards this time to the 23 or 24 yard line. That'll bring up 3rd and long.
Nice tackle on the play by defensive tackle Eric Cregan for the Mass Minutemen. Cregan 6'1", 244 out of Huntington, New York. He's a sophomore.
UMass comes into this game with a perfect 3-0 Yankee Conference record. A win here will clinch at least a conference tie for the Minutemen. UConn, of course, still has a bit of a chance. They've only lost, or they haven't lost any conference games. They have won 1 and tied 1. Now on 3rd down, Allison is back to pass, looking to the near sideline. He throws to Schweitzer, who's in the game. He completes the pass, but for a very short gain, up past the 25 to the 26, and UConn will punt. Kenny Schweitzer is starting his first game in a UConn uniform since being injured in the Yale game several weeks ago. He's starting as a flanker today. He apparently will not quarterback the team for the rest of the year.
The wind could be a big factor today, Steve. It's blowing towards the south end of the stadium into UConn space here in the first quarter.
Okay, back to receive the punt for UMass is Jones. The snap goes to Rusty Umberger, who rides out a punt. It is taken by Jones inside UConn territory at the 48-yard line. So UMass will take over. The UMass Minutemen are leading, rather are 3rd in Division I AA overall in total offense. They are led by quarterback Mike McEvely. He is a senior from Clinton, Massachusetts. And we will run down the rest of the UMass offense when we get a chance. 1st and 10 UMass at the UConn 49-yard line. Kevely with the running backs Pedro and Hayworth and the power I. Now the tight end is in motion to the left, and he sets in the slap to the left. Kevely pitches to Pedro, has some room over the left side, gets forward for about 2 yards to maybe the 30, check that, the 47-yard line. And that'll bring up 2nd and long. Mike, why don't you run down the UMass offense for us while we have a chance?
Okay, Steve. At split end will be number 87, Mike Newell. Left tackle, number 75, Carl Nylon. Left guard, number 61, Steve Wojcik. Center is Fred Reed. Right guard, Peter Brown. The right tackle, Chris O'Neill. And the tight end, Marty Taglione. I'll run down the other players after this play.
Okay, 2nd and 9 for UMass. I saw some motion on the line. Both split wide to the left. Back to pass is Harrison. Looking for Schweitzer. Throws down the middle. It's complete to Schweitzer. Schweitzer at the 40, 45, 50. May go all the way. No, he's caught at the 40-yard line of UMass by Bob Manning, the strong safety for UMass, and a good play that time as Harrison found Schweitzer on a crossing pattern right down the middle of the field. Schweitzer caught the ball, made some good moves, and ran right toward the far sideline. Eventually got caught over on the far sideline inside the 40 at about the 39-yard line. So UConn's first penetration into UMass's territory brings them a 1st and 10 at the 39-yard line. Big play by UConn. Now Harrison gives to Addison, who goes straight up the middle for about 2, close to the 37-yard line. The stop that time was made by Steve LeMay, by George Lewis, the defensive end. And it'll bring up a 2nd and 7.
Schweitzer is doing a fine job at wide receiver. He played wide receiver at high school at Hand High, and Madison was the starting quarterback this season, was injured, made his first appearance at wide receiver last week against Maine, and looked very good.
Now Schweitzer is lined up in the backfield as a wingback, and Harrison will give the ball to Jordan, sweeping wide left, looks for some room and gets about 3 yards past the 35 to the 34.
Scott Kroll, among others, made the tackle on Tony Jordan.
Jordan picked up 3 yards that time, bringing up a 3rd and 4.
Frank DiTomaso also helped out on that tackle.
Yes, we have 2 DiTomasos. I really don't know if they're related or not, Frank and Pete, in the UMass defense.
They're both from the same hometown of Staten Island, New York, so I'm assuming they are brothers.
Yes,
that might be a wrong assumption.
Well, that's pretty convincing evidence, but it doesn't really matter. 3rd and 4 at the UMass 34-yard line. Schweitzer now in motion to the left. Harrison back to pass, throwing to Addison, who juggles the ball and cannot hold on at the 30-yard line. It wouldn't have been enough anyway for the first down, as there was a good pursuit put up that time by the cornerback Steve LeMay. So it's 4th down and 4, and UConn will punt. Or will they? Let's see.
I think they're going to go for it.
Harrison is still in there, and Harrison apparently wants to go for it, and it looks like they will.
It's too far for a long field goal attempt. It would be about a 51-yard attempt, and the wind would be blowing at Bob Seeger's face, and I think the Huskies figure it won't be that bad field position if they don't make it here, so they're better off just going for it than to punt the ball away.
They have to get just inside the 30-yard line. The ball is at the 34. Harrison and now a whistle, and they may have taken too much time. Yep, delay of game penalty. That'll move the ball back 5 yards, and this should bring up an obvious punting situation. Yes, here comes Umberger. What might have happened that time is maybe Harrison tried to draw the line off sides, because it didn't look like they made any moves to set an offensive play in motion.
Either that, or maybe there's a remote possibility that he was calling an audible at the line of scrimmage, but you're probably right. He probably was doing the former, trying to draw the UMass Minutemen off sides for the first down.
Back to receive is Sullivan. The punt goes high and short, and it is bounding at the 22-yard line and is down there by UConn at the 24.
There are flags on the play, Steve. I believe a UConn defender interfered with Mr. Sullivan as he called for the fair catch, and that'll move the ball upfield for the Mass Minutemen.
Well, we'll have to wait. There is the preliminary signal is, yes, illegal use of the hands, it looks like, or some sort of interference against UConn.
It looked like an inadvertent bump, Steve. Sullivan was calling for the fair catch in traffic, and unfortunately for the Huskies, one of the UConn defenders bumped into him, and that'll move the ball out to the 39-yard line of Massachusetts.
That was not an intentional shot at all given by the UConn player. It was just unintentional, as Mike noted, and that moves the ball up a big 15 to the 39-yard line. McEvely, and now there's some indecision in the background, and McEvely calls timeout. Oh, wait a minute, maybe it was, yes, an official's timeout. They want to change the ball. McEvely and his center apparently didn't like the feel of the ball, so they have a new one in there now.
In case you missed the soccer game here on WHUS this morning, or were unable to attend it, UConn defeated UMass by a score of 3-2 as Joe Maroney netted 2 goals.
1st and 10 at the UMass 39-yard line. Newell and O'Connor, the receivers, split wide. Now McEvely rolling wide to the near side. He throws complete to his tight end, who's out of bounds just inside UConn territory at the 48-yard line. That tight end is Marty Paglione. He is a senior, 6'3", 210 from Dudley, Massachusetts. That's his first reception of the day, I believe.
That was a difficult play for McEvely. He's a left-handed quarterback, and as he was rolling to his right, he released the ball to Paglione. Nice play.
It looked like the,
I'm sorry, Steve.
excuse me, Mike, it looked like the UConn secondary was doubling on the receiver, O'Connor, who leads Division I AA in receiving. And as a result, that left Paglione wide open. 1st and 10 at the UConn 48-yard line. 6 minutes exactly left in the first quarter. The give is to Brian Hayworth, and he gets past the 45, down to the 44 for a gain of about 5.
Crowd still shuffling in here at Alumni Stadium here.
This could be the
Memorial
biggest crowd of
Stadium,
the
rather.
season.
A very good crowd. Nice crowd on the hill behind the south field end zone, the south end zone.
2nd and 7. The ball sits right at the UConn 45-yard line. Splitting wide to the left is Kevin O'Connor. Wide to the right is the split end, Mike Newell. McEvely with Pedro and Hayworth the backs. He gives to Hayworth, who gets past the 45-yard line for a gain of only about 2 to about the 43. That'll bring up 3rd and about 6. Time winding down to exactly 5 minutes left here in the first quarter. No score as of yet. UConn has had the best field position so far. They had the ball at the UMass 34-yard line a few minutes ago, but they could not move it any further. Well, it says 3rd and 7 up on the scoreboard, so it is a longer play than I anticipated. Now McEvely rolling left, throwing, and it is way overthrown. He was going for O'Connor up down near the 30-yard line. Good coverage that time by Darrell Wilson, and UMass will again be forced to punt. They've only picked up 1 first down so far, Mike.
Yes, there was good coverage on that play, as you said, by Darrell Wilson. Tuck it to wide. Also a very fine pass rush by Steve Beal as he forced McEvely to quickly release the ball.
Tim Fontaine standing at his own 41-yard line, ready to kick to Joe Marcus or Reggie Eccleston. They stand at their own 10. Fontaine has a wind at his back. He steps into it and rides out a long, low spiral that Marcus will let bound into the end zone for a touchback. So UConn will take over again at their own 20 with 4:32 left in the first quarter. We have no score. We'll keep it right here. And let's see if UConn will continue opening up the game through the air as they have shown in their first 3 series.
The Huskies have had a little bit of trouble opening up here. They have the wind in their face, but they can't really necessarily use that as an excuse because UMass will have that situation twice in the game, too, for 2 quarters.
Al Arison with the full house backfield of Addison, Jordan, and Schweitzer. The pitch goes to Jordan, trying to get her on the right end. He has some room up past the 30-yard line, gets a first down, and gets forward all the way up to the 37-yard line. It's a good second effort that time by Jordan as he looked to be stopped after about a 5 or 6 yard gain, but he shook off the tackle and rode it all the way up to the 37-yard line. First down, UConn.
Very nice run by Tony Jordan. Most of that yardage picked up on individual effort. Initially, a nice hole was opened up for Jordan, but as you said, after picking up about 5 or 6 yards, he carried a few tacklers on his back, got the ball up to the 36-yard line.
First and 10 from the UConn 36.5-yard line. Arison with the fake handoff, now looking to the near sideline. Now he's going to run it. He gets back to the line of scrimmage and then is thrown backwards by Steve LeMay, who was coming up that side on the near side. And Arison ended up losing about 2 yards on the play and a 2nd and 12.
Jerome Ingram into the game for the first time for the Huskies. He'll probably replace Kenny Schweitzer. Yes, it is Kenny Schweitzer he's replacing.
Good coverage that time on that play by the secondary. There was no place for Arison to throw, so he did the smart thing and ate the ball. The give goes to Jordan. He gets about a yard to the 34-yard line. That'll bring up a 3rd and long. Well, it looks like he didn't make any yardage on the play, so it is still 12 yards to go for a UConn first down. 3rd down with 3 minutes and 8 seconds left in the first quarter. As the crowd continues to shuffle in, this could top the 8,000 we had for the New Hampshire game a few weeks ago. 3rd and 12, the receiver Eccleston wide to the left. Schweitzer is back in the game in the slot to the right. The give goes to Addison. Right up the middle, Addison has some yardage up to the 40-yard line. He gets past the original line of scrimmage, but is well short of a first down, and UConn will punt once again.
Nice tackle on the play by Bob Manning as Jordan went up the middle and looked like he was going to pick up some big yardage, but Manning made a nice ankle-high tackle to bring Tony Jordan down.
Kevin Sullivan and Steve LeMay back to receive the punt for UMass, and it will be Rusty Umberger punting from his own 25-yard line. Handles the snap cleanly, Gets away a good high spiral coming down to Sullivan. He lets it roll. It bounces inside the 30, taking a UConn roll past the 25-yard line to about the 24, where UMass will take over once again, 1st and 10. With 2 minutes and 16 seconds left in the first quarter, we have yet to see a score.
Husky defense doing a good job shutting down Massachusetts. They have a fairly explosive offense. They defeated Boston University earlier in the season by a score of 26-10. And BU, I believe, is ranked either 5th or 6th in the nation in 1AA. So they have a fine team also, and the Huskies will be meeting them 2 weeks from today.
UMass has won 5 in a row coming into today's action, and they're going for number 6 right now. A win here will clinch a tie for the Yankee Conference title. The give goes to Cliff Pedro, who was stood straight up by Dewey Raymond at the line of scrimmage and is thrown backwards. They'll mark his progress at about the 25, so maybe he picked up a yard, give him a yard and a half, as Pedro lost his helmet on that play.
Jeff Thomas was also in on the play. Jeff, a junior out of Forestville, Connecticut, made a nice tackle along with Dewey Raymond on the play.
The UConn defense is doing something a little different today. They are using Raymond in some situations as a nose guard, and then they are dropping him back into the linebacking position when they go for the 4-3. Right now they have him set as the nose guard, so they have a 5-2-4. 2nd and 8 for UMass at their own 26-yard line. McEvely back to pass, sprinting out to the left, throws far, and it is overthrown, almost intercepted out there by Walton. And Darrell Wilson's in the area too. He was intending the pass for Kevin O'Connor.
Vicious hit on that play by Pete Lamagna, who came in on the safety blitz and leveled Mike McEvely just as he released that ball, forcing the overthrow. So it's 3rd and long for Massachusetts, 3rd and 8 to be exact.
Massachusetts has only picked up 1 first down so far in this game. And they will be hard-pressed to pick up another one here. 3rd and 8, as Mike just mentioned, from their own 26-yard line. The backs, Hayworth and Pedro, and the receivers, O'Connor and Newell. Back to passes. McEvely has time, throwing to the near sideline, and it's underthrown as either the receiver broke the pattern or McEvely just underthrew the ball.
Marty Taglione, the tight end, the intended receiver, fell down on the play, and it looks like Taglione was looking for a pass interference call, but he's not going to get it, and Massachusetts will have to punt away to Reggie Eccleston or Joe Marcus.
Tim Fontaine will stand at his own 10-yard line to punt the ball, and UConn this time should get fairly good field position. Fontaine does have the wind at his back, and he rides out a long, low spiral. It bounces inside the 40, now takes a UConn roll past the 40 up near the 42-yard line, where UMass finally downs it at the 42, and UConn will take over once again, 1st and 10. So it's been an exchange of punts here so far in the first quarter.
That's the best field position the Huskies have had, opening a series of plays this game, and let's see if they can capitalize on it. Last week against Maine, the Husky defense did such an excellent job, and continually the Huskies were getting good field position and pitting the Maine Black Bears deep in their own territory.
Harrison with the full house backfield of Addison, Jordan, and Schweitzer, and now there's some motion in the backfield. There were 2 runners, or 2 backs in motion, and you can't do that. The flag goes flying through the air, and it'll be illegal motion. Well, wait a minute. It looks like offside against UMass. I know I saw some motion in the backfield.
That's an interesting call, Steve. It appeared that Ken Schweitzer and Joe Addison were both in motion, and then once they were in motion, they tried to stop, but it was too late, it appeared. Unfortunate break for the Huskies. They're calling offsides against UMass, so it'll be 1st and 5 for the Huskies.
Well, you win some and you lose some, so UConn has a 1st and 5 at the UMass 47-yard line. UMass still going with a full house backfield. Now they split Schweitzer out to the right, and the give goes right up the middle to Jordan. Jordan gets past midfield on 2nd effort down to the 49-yard line, close to a 1st down.
That's very close to a 1st down, Steve, and there could be a measurement here. If it isn't a 1st down, it's going to be 2nd, very short yardage, and it is a 1st down for the Huskies. 1st and 10 from the UMass 49-yard line.
Coming up on 1 minute left in the first quarter here, no score. UConn and UMass. Harrison with the wing backfield, full house wing to the left. That's Schweitzer. Now the give goes to nobody as Harrison faked the handoff. He throws out to Eccleston at the 40, checked out the 50, and he's thrown backwards for a loss back inside UConn territory.
That play wasn't very well developed, Steve. Reggie went out to the right-hand side for a screen. There were 2 or 3 defenders just standing there waiting for him, and Reggie backtracked trying to get some running room, but it was to no avail.
It was Steve LeMay once again on the stop as he came up very quickly and allowed Eccleston no room along the far sideline. 2nd and 15 for UConn at their own 47-yard line. This time Schweitzer comes wide to the left and Eccleston goes wide to the right. The give goes to Addison straight up the middle for about 1.5 yards. Close to the 48-yard line. That'll bring up a 3rd and long.
That could be the last play of the first half, Steve, as the clock is winding down.
And it will be the last play as the gun goes off, signaling the end of the first quarter. So after one full quarter of play here at Memorial Stadium in UConn, the score is 0-0. We'll be right back after this.
WHUS Storrs.
Actually work, it needs to be carried out. I mean, we catch cars in there that would be dangerous to start even across town, let alone getting out on the highway.
Today, Don Boyce in passing it is Al Harrison, 3 for 6 for 45 yards. On the other side of the ledger, Mike McEvely has completed 2 of 5 for only 9 yards. So UConn, wait a minute. Now Harrison broke back into the shotgun formation and flags went flying through the air.
A lot of confusion.
And that's going to be offsides again, so apparently that motion confused the UMass defense again. I had heard earlier in the week that UConn might be trying the shotgun formation to try and confuse UMass and get some more offense through the air. That's what they did that time, and they confused them well enough to get 5 yards. So now instead of a 3rd and 12, it's a 3rd and 7. And here they go into the shotgun once again. Harrison standing at his own 41-yard line. This is interesting. The pass is high, but Harrison handles it. He throws high to the near sideline, overthrown and incomplete. He was going for Schweitzer down near the 30-yard line. So on 3rd down, the shotgun offense does not work, at least this time, and it'll be Rusty Umbarger into punt.
Could be that Coach Walt Nadzak maybe had a conversation with head coach Tom Landry of the Dallas Cowboys. Tom Landry loves the shotgun offense, and Roger Staubach runs it very well for the Cowboys.
Back to receive for UMass is Kevin Sullivan. He's standing at his own 10. Umberger gets a high kick coming out to Sullivan. He calls for a fair catch at the 14-yard line. So a good punt that time by Umberger sets UMass way back in their own territory. They will take over 1st and 10 at their own 14-yard line. We are just underway in the second quarter here. We still have no score. 14:49 left in the half, if you will.
Don't forget to stay tuned to the athletic supporter immediately following this game. And you can talk about UConn sports or pro sports, any kind of sports you want to talk about. Just call us up on WHUS Athletic Supporter.
McEvely with O'Connor split wide to the right, backs Pedro and Hayward. Now McEvely takes a snap, is rolling right, gets nailed just as he unloads it to O'Connor. It's short and incomplete, as McEvely really got blasted that time by Jeff Thomas.
Gary Brooks was also there. Brooks played an outstanding game last week against the University of Maine. I believe he had about 4 sacks. Played one of the finest games the UConn defensive lineman has ever had. And Coach Walt Nadzak was just raving about Gary Brooks last week.
I believe he set some sort of UConn defensive record last week. They give out points based on primary tackles and assists on tackles, and Brooks rang up 19 points last week. That beat Steve Beal's record last year of 14. So he's in there starting today and having a good game. 2nd and 10, as McEvely sprints wide to the right. He's throwing for O'Connor, and it's intercepted. Yes, by Pete Lamagna at the 20-yard line. A fine diving interception by Lamagna as the pass was intended for Kevin O'Connor. Lamagna made a diving interception toward the far sideline, just stayed in bounds long enough to give UConn the ball. 1st and 10 at the UMass 22-yard line. What a break for the Huskies.
Big break for the Huskies, and they're within Bob Seeger field goal range, especially considering that the wind is behind their backs here in the second quarter. The ball is placed down at the 22-yard line, so it's 1st and 10 Huskies from the Massachusetts 22.
UConn is going the other way in this quarter, left to right along your radio dial. Harrison with the give to Schweitzer. He looks like he's going to throw it. Now he's going to keep it. Gets past the line of scrimmage down to the 20-yard line, and he was going to throw that ball if there was somebody open.
Huskies keeping the Massachusetts defense honest here. They're showing a lot of razzle-dazzle. They've displayed the shotgun offense, and now they're utilizing Kenny Schweitzer, who has the ability to throw as a possible wide receiver. Also look out for Reggie Eccleston. Eccleston and Ken Miller have teamed up on a couple of flea flicker passes this season, one for a touchdown in the Yale Bowl.
I wonder if that play might have been just a ploy, Mike, because who knows how well Schweitzer's shoulder really is. Now the give goes to Addison, straight up the middle, past the 20, down inside
the 17 of UMass for a gain of about 3 yards. It will be 3rd and 5.
No, there's no way to tell, really, how Kenny Schweitzer's shoulder is, and even if he is fully recovered, it appears that Alan Harrison is going to be the UConn quarterback for the remainder of the season, barring injuries. So Kenny Schweitzer will be used at the flanker spot for the rest of the season.
3rd and 5 from the UMass 17-yard line. Harrison throwing for Schweitzer, complete at the 10-yard line. Schweitzer gets down inside the 5, and they're going to say he stepped out at the 6-yard line. Nevertheless, that's a first down for UConn. 1st and goal at the UMass 6-yard line, and UConn is ready to strike here.
Steve LeMay prevented the UConn touchdown by riding him out of bounds. They're going to call it out of bounds to the 6-yard line, but nevertheless, 1st and goal to go for the Huskies at the UMass 6.
This would be quite a lift for the Huskies if they could draw first blood here. 13:26 remaining in the half. We have no score as of yet. Now Harrison gives to Jordan straight up the middle, past the 5, down to the 4-yard line.
Huskies look confident, they look loose now, and they're not impressed. It appears at this point of the game that UMass is the number 3 team in the country in 1AA football.
They do seem to be playing with an air of great confidence so far. They've been opening up the game with passes, a couple of razzle-dazzle plays, some strange formations, including the shotgun. And it's 2nd and goal at the UMass 4-yard line. The full house backfield once again. The give goes to Jordan, looking for room. Jordan gets to the 3, and he's stopped right there by by Ray Benoit, the middle guard for UMass, amidst a host of others.
Good
so it'll
game
be 3rd and goal.
there.
Excuse me, Mike. It'll be 3rd and goal from the UMass 3-yard line.
Sorry to interrupt there, Steve.
It's
Nice
okay.
game tackling by the UMass defense there. They're getting tough. They have to get tough here. UConn is bringing the ball towards their goal line.
This has been a UConn trouble spot so far this year. Failure to get the ball into the end zone when they're down close. 3rd and 2 for the touchdown. Harrison looking in the end zone. Now throws it to Schweitzer. On the near side, he dives into the end zone for a touchdown. Touchdown UConn, and they draw first blood here, and they lead 6-0.
Good play by Alan Harrison. It appears that Kenny Miller was his primary receiver on the play. Miller was covered well in the end zone. Harrison did not panic. He went to his secondary receiver, Kenny Schweitzer, out in the right flank, and Schweitzer caught the ball at about the 3-yard line and brought it in for the touchdown.
I believe that is Harrison's 3rd or 4th TD pass of the year. I'm not sure. But it's an awful big one here as UConn goes up 6-0, and here is Bob Seeger to try and add the extra point. Snap is down, the kick is up, and it is good. So with 12-12 left in the first half, UConn draws first blood and leads 7-0. We'll be right back. Covered for a touchdown.
Big break for the Huskies. He fumbled at his own 3-yard line, and the ball went off his hands into the end zone, and he tried to fall. The ball was pursued by the UConn defense, and someone on the UConn defense grabbed the ball away from him for 6 points.
I believe it might have been Gary Brooks. I saw him down there, and they were kind of milling around him. But a big break for UConn as they go out on top 13-0.
I think this is the most number of points scored in the first half by UConn this season. I know they were ahead against Rutgers 2 weeks ago here. I don't remember. No, actually, I think they scored 14 points in the first half against Rutgers. So if Seeger adds the extra point, that'll tie the number of points in the first half.
And he does. So UConn gets a big break and recovers a fumble in the end zone. So with 4:47 left here in the second quarter, UConn surprisingly leads UMass 14-0. We'll be right back.
Not surprisingly.
Hi, folks. This is Roy Clark. You know, the federal minimum wage is $2.
Yeah, UConn has just recovered a fumbled handoff by the University of Massachusetts in the UMass end zone. So with 4:47 remaining in the first half, it's UConn 14, UMass nothing. And Jody Webb is set to kick off for UConn, and back to receive is Gary Pearson.
So a couple of UMass mistakes have turned into 14 UConn points. The first touchdown was set up by a Pete Lamagna interception of a McEvely pass down near the 20-yard line. And just now, UConn recovered a fumble of an attempted pitch to the receiver on an end around. And quickly, it's 14-0 UConn. 4:47 left here in the first half. Webb gets a high, short kick, bounding inside the 10. Now it goes all the way into the end zone. and that'll be a touchback. UMass will take over at their own 20-yard line. UMass has been snake-bitten here.
It's been rough for UMass so far. UConn pulled a big upset over UMass in 1976 when UConn defeated them on this field by a score of, actually it was up at UMass, I believe, 28-6. UConn won that game, and that was the year where UConn went 2-9 that season, and that was a big upset. UConn played very well last year against UMass. They're always up for UMass, and back in the 60s and early 70s, these two teams often fought for the Yankee Conference Championship.
Now Stone is in for UMass, replacing, I believe he's replacing Newell. So maybe Newell's foot has been acting up on him again. The give goes to Hayworth, and he gets slammed right at the line of scrimmage, but goes forward on second effort for about 2 yards. Give him 3 yards on that. It's 2nd and 7. We have some more passing statistics here from Don Boyce, and he tells us that it is McKevely 5 for 12 for only 48 yards. Al Harrison has had his best day so far as a UConn Husky, 7 for 12 for 71 yards.
Also, McKevely has 2 interceptions so far this game.
McKevely, 2nd and 7 for his Minutemen. He fakes the handoff and takes it on the quarterback draw, and that did not fool UConn at all, especially Gary Brooks, who stopped McKevely right at the line of scrimmage. McKevely faked the handoff to the first man through, who was Hayworth, and then tried to follow Hayworth through on the quarterback draw, but that did not get anywhere.
UMass looks a little bit flustered here. They lost their opening season game to Lafayette by a score of 35-7 and have reeled off 5 straight victories, number 3 in the country in Division I AA, and they're a little bit worried now. UConn leading 14-0.
That streak is definitely in jeopardy. 3rd and 7 from their own 26-yard line. The give goes to Stone on the end reverse, and he is slammed by a waiting UConn defense. And the UConn players are saying that he fumbled, but he apparently recovered, according to the referee, and it'll be 4th down and a punt once again for UMass.
Matt Donovan just stood him up and slammed him to the ground. A big play for the Huskies, and they should get good field position here as Eccleston and Marcus stand at about their own 40-yard line awaiting the punt from Tim Fontaine.
UMass is starting to go to a lot of trick plays. Apparently they are a little worried and a little flustered. That play was the same type that they fumbled on the preceding series of downs for a UConn touchdown. Now the punt comes up to Marcus, who calls for a fair catch inside UMass territory at the 45-yard line. So excellent field position for the Huskies.
Excellent field position, as you said, Steve, and there's 2:50 remaining in the first half. Plenty of time for the Huskies to try and put at least 3 points on the scoreboard. And a 17-0 lead looks very big here. The Huskies playing at home and definitely inspired. The crowd is very excited about this performance by the Huskies.
Harrison with his full house backfield of Addison, Jordan, and Schweitzer. The give goes to Schweitzer. He's going to throw it. He's got somebody open down there. It was Eccleston, and either the pattern was broken by Eccleston or Schweitzer just messed up that throw. It was nearly intercepted.
Mixed up on that play, Steve. Eccleston was still running downfield, was not looking back towards Schweitzer. Nevertheless, Schweitzer threw the ball and it was almost intercepted by a UMass defender.
And I see Schweitzer kind of holding his arm there, so maybe his arm hurt him on that throw. That looked like a good play to begin with, though. Schweitzer didn't give it quite enough time to develop, however. Now Schweitzer goes in the slot to the left as Addison and Jordan are in the power I. Now back to pass is Harrison looking long, and he's going to get nailed back inside the 50 for a sack and a big loss of about 10 yards. He was hit that time. If we can get our depth charts in order here. By Ray Benoit, the middle guard. So a big defensive play by UMass puts UConn back in their own territory.
Al Harrison showing a lot more confidence with his passing game this game. I remember a couple of weeks ago in his first start against the University of New Hampshire here in Storrs, Harrison was a little bit tentative, and as a result, the Huskies could not generate any offense during the course of the day and ended up with a 3-3 tie.
3rd down and 19. Addison gives to Addison, who gets past the 40-yard line inside UMass territory down to the 38. Close enough to the first down, but not quite. And let's see what they do here. There's a minute and 50 seconds left in the first half, and they may indeed go for it. Now Harrison calls a timeout. He'll want to talk it over with Nadzak.
Yep, Alan Harrison's going over to the sidelines to talk with head coach Walt Nadzak. It's a 4th and 3 situation, and I think the Huskies will definitely go for this, and it's hard to say what they'll do. I think they'll try and go to some kind of a short pass, either to Kenny Schweitzer or maybe even to one of the backs. I think they'll try and fake UMass out with some kind of a play-action pass. We'll just have to wait and see.
You might look for Kenny Miller here. They haven't used him as yet.
No, they haven't used him. Arison tried to go to Miller on that touchdown pass that was caught by Kenny Schweitzer. Miller was covered well. I'm sure UMass is fully aware of Kenny Miller's catching ability. Very, very fine tight end. Now they're sending Rusty Umbarger into the game, and I still think there's a possibility of a fake punt here.
So do I.
There's not much time left in the first half. UConn, if they punt the ball, I most likely will not touch the ball again here in the first half, and I have a feeling Rusty Umbarger is either going to throw a pass or run for it.
Well, let's see. Back to receive for UMass is Gary Pearson. He's standing at his 10. The snap goes back, and Umbarger punts it away, hitting at the 3-yard line and bounding past the end zone for a touchback. So they didn't try any trick plays there. Apparently they will be happy to go into the locker room, hopefully with a 14-0 lead.
Huskies playing a little bit of conservative football, and Coach Walt Nadzak showed a lot of respect for Coach Bob Pickett's team there. He figured that maybe if UConn was stopped there, Mike McEvely might be able to bring his team downfield and score before the end of the first half. So not wanting to take that chance, he had Umbarger punt the ball away, and UMass has 80 yards to go and only 1:37 left in the first half.
And let's see what UMass decides to do here. A minute 37 left. As one receiver, who is O'Connor, is split out wide to the left. Now the pass is intended for O'Connor, but it's thrown wide and low, and it is incomplete. So that'll bring up a 2nd and 10 at the UMass 20-yard line.
Once again, Mike McEvely is picking his posterior up off the turf here at Memorial Stadium. He is facing a very, very heavy pass rush by the UConn defensive line today, and that is the main reason, really, why McEvely is not having a good day passing. Dog goes on the field now and is trying to be chased off by a referee. 1:33 left here in the first half, and there's going to be a stoppage of play here.
I believe it's a Husky, too. All right. He's out by the 45-yard line. And he's just going to sit around there for a while.
Last week up in Orono, towards the end of the game, we had a dog run into the UConn backfield.
Really?
Alan Harrison just turned back and looked at him. Dog is looking at the UConn bench, maybe for some instructions from head coach Walt Nadzak. Who knows?
Well, the referees are laughing, the players are laughing, and, well, here comes somebody from the UConn sideline to try and get the dog. No, he's not going to let him go after him.
It's very apropos, Steve. This campus is in a very festive mood this weekend, thanks to homecoming with the pep rally last night and the soccer game this morning.
Yes. Now the dog goes into the end zone for a touchdown. So let's see if we can get the game underway once again.
Big round of applause for the dog there.
Yeah.
Star of the game so far.
Really showed great quickness on that play. Minute 33 left in the first half. UMass, if we can come back down to earth here, as a 2nd and 10. The give goes up the middle to Cliff Pedro, who gets about 2 yards. That'll bring up a 3rd and long as time ticks down. It is 1:23 left and running in the first half. 3rd and 8.
UConn trying to call a timeout here, hoping to get the ball back with some time left, and finally they do call timeout, and Matt Donovan goes to the sidelines to confer with his coaches over there. 1:17 left in the first half. UConn 14, Massachusetts nothing. Don't forget to stay tuned to the Athletic Supporter immediately following this game.
Mike, UMass has been using Mike Stone in as their wide receiver in place of Kevin O'Connor, who is their leading receiver. I wonder if something happened to O'Connor. I didn't notice. I can't see him over there on the sidelines. But they do have their 2nd stringer in there right now, and they've had him in there for the past couple of plays.
In the first quarter, on one of the receptions he made, it appeared that he was limping back to the huddle, and he stayed in the game for a while longer. I don't know. He might have injured himself on that pass reception. It's hard to say. And as you said, he was injured in practice earlier in the week and was playing hurt, and it's very cold out there. Maybe the weather had something to do with his injury also.
That would be a bad break for UMass, as O'Connor leads the Yankee Conference in overall receiving. 3rd down, 7 to go for UMass. McEvely with his backs, Pedro and Hayworth in the power I. The one receiver, Mike Stone, is split wide to the left. McEvely with a long count, now rolls left, looking for Stone, and it is almost intercepted, broken up by Jamie Tompkins, and it'll be 4th down. So UConn will get the ball back in fairly good position, and with a little bit of time to play with, too. There's a minute 13 left. They have 2 timeouts remaining. They just used one a little while ago. And back to receive for UConn will be Reggie Eccleston and Joe Marcus. Let's see if Marcus can pull off another end of the half miracle like he did last week. Tim Fontaine standing inside his own 10-yard line. Takes a snap, rides out a long, low spiral, hitting at about the 50, taking a UMass roll inside the 50 to about the UConn 46, where UConn will take over first and 10 with 1 minute and 3 seconds remaining in the first half. They lead 14-0.
Very fine performance so far in this game by the UConn Huskies. Both the offense and defense have gelled together, and
especially the defense playing very inspired.
the defense has excelled all season long. Even some of the games where they've given up over 20 points, they have done a good job, and it's basically been because they have been on the field so long that they have tired towards the end of the game.
Harrison back to pass, looking for Schweitzer down the middle. He throws it complete to Schweitzer inside the 35-yard line down to the 32. And UConn will hurry up with the hustle-up offense, and it looks like Schweitzer may have been injured on the play.
Yes, he's lying down on the field being attended to by the referees now.
He took a helmet right in the stomach from one of the cornerbacks from UMass, and they're calling an injury timeout.
Yeah. UConn trainer Tom Pike goes out to administer to Kenny Schweitzer. He ran a very nice post pattern over the middle, caught the ball in traffic, and took a helmet in the stomach at about the 32-yard line. And let's hope that the most serious thing that happened to him was that he got the wind knocked out of him.
Well, Harrison was looking for Schweitzer all the way as Schweitzer was lined up wide to the right.
It's been a rough season for Kenny Schweitzer. He suffered a badly bruised shoulder in the Yale game while he was still playing quarterback. Now he's up on his feet and being helped off the field. That was head coach Walt Nadzak that went out to greet him also. So, Huskies have very fine field position. First and 10 at the UMass 32. They are within striking distance, under a minute to go in the first half.
Jerome Ingram is in the game replacing Schweitzer. He's split out wide to the left with Eccleston wide to the right. The pass goes intended for Ingram, and it's intercepted and then dropped. Oh, that was very close that time. Steve LeMay checked that. It was Tony Jesse who almost made the interception. As Harrison threw a very dangerous pass. He was going for Ingram down by the 20-yard line of the near sideline, and Jesse stepped right in front of him and had the ball, and if he had held on to that, that was about 6 points right there because there was no one down the sideline. But he could not hold on, so it's 2nd and 10. Harrison to give to Jordan, sweeping right, looks for some blocking, can get none, gets about a yard to the 31-yard line. With time ticking away, 33 seconds, now UConn calls their second of 3 timeouts. Harrison will come over to the sideline to confer with head coach Nadzak on what they should do on a 3rd and 8-yard to-go situation. UConn leading here 14-0. They converted 2 UMass offensive mistakes into touchdowns. An interception was turned into a touchdown, and then UMass fumbled an end-around attempt, and UConn recovered it in the end zone for their 2nd touchdown.
Head coach Walt Nadzak is talking to Kenny Schweitzer now along the sideline, so it appears that Kenny Schweitzer, that's Harrison down there. I don't see Schweitzer, but let's hope that he wasn't seriously injured. I thought that was Schweitzer down on the field in front of Walt Nadzak. I thought maybe he would be coming in to replace Jerome Ingram, but I can't spot him along the UConn sideline now.
I believe I see him down there. Yes, that's Schweitzer down there on the right. He's not in the game right now. Oh, wait a minute, that's not Schweitzer, that's number 14, that's somebody else. I can't find him either, Mike. Well, anyway, it's Eccleston and Ingram in the game now as the receivers. Harrison straight back to pass. Looking long in the end zone for Eccleston. The pass is incomplete as it was tipped away at the last minute by Tony Jesse. Good play as Eccleston was wide open in the end zone. And that was very close to another UConn touchdown. 4th down and 8 to go. UConn will punt. 27 seconds left in the first half. Well, wait a minute. I see Bob Seeger in there.
He's got the wind at his back. The ball will be placed down at about the 37-yard line, making it a 47-yard attempt.
He has the leg to kick him that far. He set the UConn record with a 53-yarder last year. The snap is down, the kick is up, and let's see, it is no good. It had the distance, but it was just wide to the left. Almost, but not quite. So UConn fails on the field goal attempt. UMass will take over with 22 seconds remaining in the first half at their own 30-yard line.
Nice try by Bob Seeger. He kicked one last year of over 50 yards, and he had the distance, as you said, Steve. It was just wide to the left, so the Huskies remain on top, 14-0. It could be that Kenny Schweitzer was taken to the locker room to be administered to. I don't see him along the UConn sidelines anymore.
Well, neither do I, so that may be the case. Now the UMass offense is in there. Newell and Stone are the receivers, split left and right, respectively. Back to pass McEvely. Looking long for Newell. The pass is a flutter, and it is intercepted there by Darrell Wilson inside his own 40. He escapes one tackle, gets up to midfield, has a couple blocks, gets inside UMass territory at the 47-yard line. A poor pass thrown that time by McEvely, and maybe his hands are getting a little cold here, as it is pretty cold out there. And the pass was a flutter, a dying quail, and it came right to the defender, and he ran it up to the 47-yard line. So UConn does have 10 seconds to try and do something here in the second half, or rather in the first half. Now Harrison throws it out of bounds to stop the clock. He was intending for Reggie Eccleston.
Barbiasis is the second tight end. He was in the game with Marty Paglione. So now UMass will have two wide receivers. Stone flanked out to the left, and Newell flanked out to the right. The backs are in the pro set. McEvely takes the snap, fakes a handoff, looking to pass, being pursued heavily, looking for his receiver, and he drops the ball as he leaps up into the air at the 6-yard line. That was Marty Paglione, the tight end, who leaped up in the air and could not hang on, so it'll be 3rd and 11 for UMass.
That would have been a circus catch had Paglione been able to hold on to the ball. It was thrown slightly behind him, so he had to reverse his field, leap up into the air over a UConn player, and he had the ball in his possession for just a moment, but could not hold on as he lost it as he hit the ground.
So it's 3rd and 11 for UMass. Stone flanked out to the left, and Newell flanked out to the right. The backs are in the power I. McEvely drops straight back to pass, and he's being pursued. He's dumped at the 29-yard line by Dewey Raymond, Joe Kalinowski, and Alan Burghardt.
I mentioned earlier that they were switching Raymond back and forth from the middle linebacker position to the nose guard. They had him lined up as a nose guard that time, and he blasted right through that offensive line, put immediate pressure on McEvely, dropped them back all the way back to their own, or to the UConn 28-yard line.
So we're going to have a long field goal attempt by Sandro Vitiello. The ball will be placed down at the 34-yard line, making it a 44-yard attempt. Graham is the holder. Vitiello, left footer, Sacco-style kicker. The kick is up, and it is no good. Wide to the right, had plenty of distance, but it's no good. So the UConn defense holds. 10:44 remaining in the third quarter. UConn leading 14-0.
Well, now with that missed field goal, Vitiello has hit exactly half of his attempts so far this year, 6 of 12, with his longest being a 47-yarder, but he couldn't hit that 44-yarder. Maybe that wind had a little bit to do with it, because the ball was hooking toward the near side, and he did have plenty of foot into it.
The wind was at his back, Steve, and it could have altered the flight of the ball. That's a big factor, too, is the wind. The Huskies will have the wind at their back in the fourth quarter. So UMass, they plan to go in the air, must do so in this quarter, really. Handoff goes to Tony Jordan. He is driven back by number 35, Scott Kroll, among others. He was just hit as he went up straight up the middle of the line.
And Mike, I noticed a lot more enthusiasm on the part of the UMass defense. They're really hitting hard this half, trying to get themselves back into the game, trying to cause a turnover, much in the manner that UConn did in the first half.
They're definitely hitting very hard here, Steve. 2nd and 10. 3 backs in the backfield. Eccleston flanked out to the left. Big pitch, now a reverse to Kenny Schweitzer. It gets across the 25 up to about the 28-yard line. So it'll be short yardage picked up on the play. Tackle was made by Dan Petrie, a sophomore out of Walpole, Massachusetts.
He wasn't fooled by the misdirection play that time. He was ready and waiting for Schweitzer.
They're calling that a gain of 1. It'll be 3rd and 9 for the Huskies as Schweitzer goes out and Jerome Ingram is back in for the Huskies. Eccleston flanked out to the left. Addison, Jordan, and Ingram in the backfield. Fake handoff by Harrison on the play action, looking for Eccleston, and the ball was just slightly underthrown. Eccleston was open, had a step on the defensive back, and unfortunately for the Huskies, they couldn't connect. That would have been enough for a first down. So Rusty Umbarger from Fairfax, Virginia, comes in to punt for the Huskies. And back to receive for UMass is Kevin Sullivan, a sophomore, 6 feet 178, out of Newburyport, New York.
And Umbarger will have to be punting into the wind.
And LeMay is the short man. Steve LeMay is the short man. The kick is a boomer into the wind. Fair catch being called for by Sullivan, and Sullivan takes it at his own 35-yard line. So a nice punt by Rusty Umbarger. And with 9:25 remaining now in the third quarter, UMass takes possession of the ball at their own 35-yard line. They trail 14-0.
Good punt that time by Umbarger, just when the team needed it most. Ball rode all the way back to the UMass 35-yard line. That was about a 45-yard kick.
Stone and Newell go flanked out to the left. Backs in the pro set. Mike McEvely, the softball quarterback, calling signals. Rose to his left, looking to pass. Now he might keep it himself. He's being pursued by Matt Donovan as he crosses the 40. Run out of bounds at about the 42-yard line by Matt Donovan along with Pete Lamagna, who came up from his safety spot to run him out of bounds. And it's a gain of 7.
Mike, it looks like UMass has all but given up on the running game. In the last series, preceding this one, they used a lot of play-action passes, and on first down here, McEvely rolls out and tries to pass it now. So they haven't really been getting any yardage at all out of their running game, so perhaps they're just going to try to do it through the air.
Barbie Oz is in now, replacing Newell. So UMass has 2 tight ends for the game now. Backs in the power I. It's a keeper by Mike McEvely. Gets across the 45 to about the 46-yard line, and I believe he has the first down. So, UMass utilizing the talents of Mike McEvely as a running back now. As you said, Steve, they've kind of chucked the running game and gone to a combination running game by McEvely and a passing game. They've kind of ignored the running backs, and they are just barely short. We'll call it third and a foot. Maybe the nose of the football. Can't be much more than that. UConn goes in to beef up their line. They bring in Jerry Mandugno along with Kenny Stockwell. So it's a 3rd and 1 situation. Also Jim Merritt's into the game for the Huskies. 3rd and 1 for UMass.
Might look for a play-action pass here, Mike.
You would have to think, too, that if UMass does not make it on this down, they will go for it on 4th down. Newell goes out to the right. 2 tight ends into the game. Backs in the power I. McEvely keeps it himself, goes across, and I think he has the first down. I don't think there's much doubt about that.
Yes, he got it easily. Rolled right over his center, who was Fred Reed, and he got more than enough for the first down. 1st and 10 at their own 46-yard line.
Back into the game for the Huskies, Dewey Raymond, Alan Burkhart, and Jody Webb, replacing Jerry Mandugno, Kenny Stockwell, and Jim Merritt. 1st and 10 situation for UMass from their own 46-yard line. Newell goes out to the right as the lone wide receiver. McEvely takes the snap from Reed, pump fakes, now he's driven back, and they're going to call him down at about the 45-yard line as Dewey Raymond hit him. McEvely dropped back, pump faked, and UConn defense didn't go for his pump fake and dumped him at the 45. So it's a loss of 1, it'll be 2nd and 11 for UMass.
That looked like that was supposed to be that fake quarterback draw that we talked about at halftime. He dropped back, ran right up to the line, then stopped and was looking for a receiver. But he got nailed right at that moment.
And the sun pops out of the clouds here at Memorial Stadium, and that gets a big crowd from the fans. 2nd and 11, UMass from their own 45-yard line. McEvely pitches back to Pearson. It looks like he's going to throw. Now he keeps it himself, and UConn defense reads it perfectly as Steve Lamagna and Matt Donovan, along with Joe Kalinowski, make the tackle. Gary Brooks was also there. A loss of about 3 more yards, so it'll be 3rd and 14 from the 41. UMass trying to use some trickery here, but the UConn defense is very well prepared for this game and not about to fall prey to the UMass trickery. 3rd and 14 for the Minutemen. Stone goes out to the left, Newell out to the right. McEvely looks like he must pass here in a 3rd and long situation. He drops straight back to pass, no play action at all, being pursued heavily. Now goes up into the pocket and tries to complete a pass to Marty Paglione, and Paglione slips. The ball was short, so it'll be 4th and 14 for UMass. Steve Beal almost had Mike McEvely about 10 yards behind the line of scrimmage, just missed him. McEvely made a nice play, eluding the tackle. He tucked the ball under his arm. Looked like he was going to run, then decided to pass, and it was incomplete.
Field made that play, forcing McEvely out of the pocket, and kept up the pursuit, so McEvely didn't have much time to get rid of the ball.
Fontaine boots it away. It's a very, very short kick. Joe Marcus signaling for a fair catch and takes it at the 37-yard line of UConn. So UConn has good field position here as they take over at the 37-yard line. 7 minutes, 3 seconds remaining in the third quarter. UConn 14, UMass nothing. In soccer action this morning, UConn defeated UMass 3-2 as Joe Maroney scored 2 goals. Eccleston and Schweitzer flanked out to the left side, backs in the pro set. Harrison takes the snap, hands off straight up the middle to Tony Jordan, who bounces off the tacklers, gets across the 50 into UMass territory, finally driven down at the 46-yard line.
Wow, what a play that was. Jordan disappeared in the pileup of players at the line of scrimmage, and just when we were about to think that the play was dead, he bounced back and came around the left end and picked up a first down. Good play by Jordan. Good second effort.
Tony Jordan is shaken up on a play. Trainer Tom Pike goes over to attend to him. It's hard to see where he's injured. Let's hope that's not a serious injury.
Well, it doesn't appear to be too serious.
Joe Marcus.
Well, he's limping a little bit.
Joe Marcus comes into the game replacing him. In the meantime, Alan Harrison went over to confer with head coach Walt Nadzak for some instructions. It's 1st and 10 Huskies. The ball is placed down at the 46-yard line of Massachusetts. Eccleston and Schweitzer go out to the left. Marcus and Addison in the pro set. Harrison drops back the pass, rolling to his right, looking for someone to pass to. Still being pursued. Now he keeps it himself. Gets across the 45 down to about the 43-yard line as he's driven down by Eric Cregan, the offensive tackle. Cregan 6'1", 244 out of Huntington, New York.
Al Harrison has an awful lot of guts. He's not afraid to put his head down and run that ball, even when he knows he's going to get destroyed, as he took a couple of good pops that time, but ran the ball out for about a 5-yard gain.
Marcus goes out, and Sutro comes in for the Huskies at running back in the power I. 2nd and 5. Handoff goes straight up the middle to Joe Addison. Gets up to about the 40-yard line. So it'll be a 3rd and 4 situation for the Huskies. The ball at the 40-yard line of UMass. In case you just tuned in, UConn 14, UMass nothing. And Tony Jordan is back into the game, so obviously he is all right, and Sutro comes out. 3rd and 4 Huskies. UConn has scored a touchdown on a pass from Harrison to Schweitzer, and they also recovered a UMass fumble in the end zone for the 2 scores. Harrison drops straight back to pass on 3rd and 4, looking long. Now he's being pursued heavily, and he's driven down by Eric Cregan. The ball is fumbled, but they're going to rule that it's UConn's ball at about the 50-yard line, and UConn will have to punt.
They're going to say he hit the ground before he fumbled the ball.
That's a break for the Huskies. Cregan came in and sacked Harrison, and the ball popped loose, but the referee ruled that his knee had hit the ground, so he was down. Rusty Umbarger comes in to punt for UConn. Back to receive for Massachusetts is Sullivan. The snap is good. The kick is a fairly good kick. Taken by the short man, LeMay. He gets up across the 30 to about the 31-yard line, where he's tackled by Mark Flood. So it'll be 1st and 10, UMass from their own 36-yard line. They have to start getting things on track here. 4 minutes and 50 seconds remaining in the third quarter. UConn 14, UMass nothing. To the game for the Huskies now, Jim Merritts comes in at defensive tackle. I didn't see who went out for the Huskies. Stone goes flanked out to the right as the lone wide receiver, backs in the power I. McEvely takes the snap, hands off straight up the middle, and not much room there for Hayworth as he gets across the 30 to about the 33-yard line.
Yeah, they're going to have to do it through the air, Mike. Their running game is getting absolutely nothing. UConn front 5 is shut down their running game totally. They're going to have to do it through the air, and they're going to have to do it without their best receiver, apparently, for the rest of the game. Kevin O'Connor has still not appeared in the second half.
Berghardt back into the game, replacing Merritt. 2nd and 8 for UMass at their own 34-yard line. Newell flanked out to the right as the lone wide receiver. McEvely keeps it himself, and he's leveled by Pete Mamagna along with Gary Brooks. Looked like an option play. McEvely thought about pitching it back to one of his running backs, decided to keep it himself, and almost lost his head in the process as he was hit by Pete Lamagna. Don't forget, immediately following the game, stay tuned for the Athletic Supporter, the sports talk show where you can phone in and voice your opinions about UConn or pro sports.
And that show will be hosted, by the way, by Harold Derrick, who's knocking himself out trying to make me say that, along with BJ Finnell and Tony Savino, I believe, will do the game too. Yes, we already said your name, Harold.
We'll give those numbers after this play. 3rd and 5 for UMass from the 36. McEvely drops straight back to pass. Now flanks the pass out to his running back, Pedro, across the 40, 45, 50 into UConn territory. Driven out of bounds at the UConn 44-yard line by Darrell Wilson.
There was a mistake in the defense somewhere because nobody picked up Pedro slipping out of the backfield, and he was wide open. Picked up about 20 yards on that play.
So the numbers for the Athletic Supporter are 429-WHUS and 486-4008. We'll give you those numbers later on in the game, too, in case you don't have pencil and paper ready to get those numbers. So why don't you call in and voice your opinions about UConn sports or even pro sports. 1st and 10 UMass from the UConn 44-yard line. The pitch goes to Pearson, and he's driven back behind the line of scrimmage. Flags are thrown, and it could be a possible face mask call. Let's see what's going to be the call here. Legal use of the hands by UMass. So UMass will be sent back into their own territory now, and the call was made, I believe, on number 87, Mike Newell, the split end, who was pushing away with his hands. That's a no-no. 3:19 remaining in the 3rd quarter. Connecticut 14, Massachusetts nothing. Next week, UConn will be traveling to Virginia to play for Virginia Military Institute. The ball is marched off 15 yards against UMass. The ball is brought back to their own 38-yard line. Actually, it's marched off 17 yards. It's marched off 15 yards from the point of infraction, so it'll be a 1st and 27 situation for the UMass Minutemen. Stone and Newell go flanked out to the left. Backs in the power I. McEvely drops straight back to pass, and he's hit from behind by Joe Kalinowski. The ball is loose, and I believe UConn has recovered the football. Yes, they have recovered the football at the Massachusetts 28-yard line. He was hit with a blindside tackle by number 75, Joe Kalinowski, and it was either Matt Donovan or Steve Beal that recovered the ball. We'll have to wait for the official announcement from the public address announcer, and Steve Tefft informs me that it was Matt Donovan.
It was Matt Donovan. What a hit put on by Steve Beal. Totally blindsided. McEvely never knew what hit him. What a break.
1st and 10 Huskies from the Minutemen 28-yard line. Eccleston flanked out to the right. Handoff goes to Tony Jordan, who scoops around left end, and he's going to be dropped behind the line of scrimmage. He'll lose a yard on that play. Tackle on the play by number 74, Eric Cregan. Cregan playing a very fine game for the Mass Minutemen. Also, Ray Benoit, the middle guard, was in on the tackle. 2nd and 11 for the Huskies from the Massachusetts 29-yard line. Eccleston goes out to the left this time. 3 backs in the backfield. Harrison takes the snap. The play-action pass. He's looking for Eccleston, and the pass is deflected away from Eccleston. A nice play by the defensive back, number 46, who is Frank DiTomaso. Tomaso, the defensive end, dropped back on that play. Tomaso, a junior, 6'1", 201, out of Staten Island, New York. Nice play as he batted the ball away from Reggie Eccleston. So it'll be 3rd and 11 Huskies from the 29 of Massachusetts. It's definitely an innovation by Coach Walt Madzak. 3rd and 16 from the 34 of Massachusetts. Eccleston out to the left, Schweitzer out to the right. The shotgun, Harrison takes the snap, flags again all over the place, and I believe once again it's going to be either a procedure call or a delay of game call against the Huskies. It's a procedure call. So Huskies are moving themselves out of field goal range here. Another 5 yards will be assessed against the Huskies, bringing the ball back to the Massachusetts 39-yard line, so it'll be 3rd and 21. Jerome Ingram into the game for the Huskies, replacing Kenny Schweitzer. 3rd and 21 for the Huskies from the 39 of Massachusetts. 2:19 remaining in the 3rd quarter. UConn 14, Massachusetts nothing. Backs in the power I. Harrison takes the ball, now rolls up to his right, he's going to keep it, and he's not going to get anything. As a matter of fact, he lost 2 yards on the play, and the Massachusetts defense is definitely fired up now.
That was a safety play there. They didn't want a chance putting the ball up for the possible interception because the UMass secondary was playing center field back there waiting for him to throw it. And,
Well, it was a smart play, but you kind of wonder if UConn's going to start to sit on this lead.
Rusty Umbarger in the punt, standing on his own 45. Back to receive for UMass is Sullivan. Heavy rush put on by Massachusetts, and they run into Rusty Umbarger, and there's going to be a roughing the kicker call, and Rusty Umbarger is rolling around in pain. Now he's up on his own feet. Alan Angelone checking with Rusty. Rusty's walking off the field under his own power now, and a big break for the Huskies as a roughing the kicker call is made. And that's going to bring the ball 15 yards ahead to UMass territory, and it's automatic first down for the Huskies. It was a 4th and 21 situation, I believe, so the 15 yards wouldn't normally give them a first down, but on that play it's an automatic first down. So it's 1st and 10 UConn from the Massachusetts 27-yard line. So a big turn of events here.
UMass apparently has lost a little confidence in their offense as they sent 10 people that time trying to block that punt and get the big break. Of course they missed, and things turned out as bad as they possibly could from UMass's standpoint. UConn has the ball with a first down and renewed life down on the 27-yard line of UMass with 1:43 minutes left in the third quarter. Mike?
Eccleston goes out to the right. Full house backfield. Handoff goes straight up the middle to Tony Jordan. He gets nothing at all as he's met by the center of the Massachusetts line. Massachusetts defense playing very tough in this second half. Frank DiTomaso, the main man on that tackle. Kenny Schweitzer goes out. Jerome Ingram comes in for the Huskies. Shuttling plays in from head coach Walt Nadzak. The ball is at the 26 of UMass. The Huskies would love to bring it in here. Power ride backfield with 3 backs. Big handoff. And it's a screen pass out to the left-hand side to Addison up to the 30, inside the 25, down to the 24-yard line. Brought down by Steve LeMay, the cornerback.
Addison could have gotten a lot more yardage if he had read his blocking a little well. He could have cut to the inside that time and knifed it right down the middle of the field because there were a couple of good blocks thrown out there by Eccleston and Schweitzer, I believe. But Addison chose to go right over him. They recovered in time to drag him down.
3rd and 7 for the Huskies from the 24-yard line. Harrison drops straight back to pass, looking for someone to pass to. Throws over the middle for Reggie Eccleston, who grabs it at the goal line and goes in for a touchdown. Reggie Eccleston with a 24-yard touchdown reception. A beautiful catch as he beat the defender badly, leaped up in the air at the goal line and went in. And the UMass defensive team has their heads down low now as they trail 20-0. A beautiful pass by Alan Harrison and a beautiful reception by Reggie Eccleston from New London, Connecticut. And the Huskies are up 20-0.
Harrison's second touchdown pass of the day, his 10th completion overall. He's having his best day ever as a quarterback in the UConn uniform.
Seeger in to attempt the extra point. Placed down, the kick is up, and it is good. So with 32 seconds remaining in the third quarter, the score, UConn 21, UMass nothing. We'll be back after this.
The 1-0 delivery to Fisk. He swings, long drive, left field. If it stays fair, it's gone.
Back to return for UMass will be Gary Pearson. The kick is a fairly good kick. Now it's going out of bounds. There will be a penalty flag on that as the ball goes out of bounds at about the 18-yard line. So Jody Webb will kick it from his 35 now. Tough break for UMass there.
Once again, it was set up by a big break, the running into the kicker call. That had UMass not done that, they would have gotten the ball down at about the 20-yard line or so.
The key penalty there, Steve, and also the key reception by Reggie Eccleston as he beat his defender at the goal line, leaped up in the air, and his momentum carried him into the end zone for the touchdown.
Good pass, too, had a lot of mustard on it.
Beautiful pass by Alan Harrison, who's showing plenty of confidence now at the quarterback position. The future looks bright for the Huskies now, as they've overcome their early season difficulties. So Jody Webb tees it off at his own 35-yard line, and back to receive it is Gary Pearson, who's standing at his own 12-yard line. The sun is out here at Memorial Stadium, but it's still very cold. The kick is a fairly good kick. Now Pearson takes it at 12, 15, 20, plus the 25 up to about the 28-yard line. So UMass will take over 1st and 10 from their own 28-yard line. Time is winding down here in the third quarter. 28 seconds remaining. Connecticut 21, Massachusetts nothing. Husky defense has not registered a shutout this season. Their best performance, or at least points allowed, was 3 against the University of New Hampshire, a game which ended in a 3-3 tie. Stone out to the left, Newell out to the right for Massachusetts. McEvely drops straight back to pass, fires over the middle for his tight end Paglione, who's got it across the 40, and he's driven out of bounds at the 42-yard line by Ted Walton, who stuck it to him. That's enough for a first down for UMass.
UMass has got to pull out all the stops here. The third quarter is just about at an end. We have 19 seconds left. And they'll have 1 quarter plus that much to get back in this game. 21-0. They surely didn't expect this coming into Storrs.
They really have to open things up here. Things look rather bleak at this point for the Mass Minutemen. 19 seconds left in the third quarter. Stone goes out to the left, and Newell goes out to the right. The lone back is Dawson. McEvely takes the snap, rolls up his left, being pursued by Field. He's going to keep it himself now. No, now he decides to throw. Fires for his tight end, Marty Paglione, who was bumped into by Darrell Wilson, and Paglione is pleading for a pass interference call, but he won't get it. Steve Beal really was pursuing Mike McEvely. McEvely looked like he was going to keep the ball because the rush was that heavy. Finally went up to the line of scrimmage, threw a nice pass intended for Marty Paglione.
Mike, I'm looking at the stat sheet here, and apart from the first game loss to Villanova, this is the most points that has been scored against UMass all year. Previous to this game, they gave up 0, 6, 7, 7, and 14. So the UConn offense has really lit up the lights today.
Stone out to the left, Newell out to the right. Backs in the pro set. McEvely straight back to pass. Now he dumps it off to his running back, who is Dan Dawson. Gets close to the 50-yard line as he's brought down by Pete Lamagna. And the clock winds down. That should do it. And that's it. Through 3 quarters of play, the score, Connecticut 21, Massachusetts nothing. And we'll keep it right here as we'll talk about the performance so far of the UConn Huskies. The Huskies have scored 3 touchdowns and lead 21-0. 2 touchdowns coming by way of Allen Harrison's passes. One, a 6-yard pass to Ken Schweitzer, the other one a 24-yard pass to Reggie Eccleston here in the third quarter, and the third UConn touchdown coming on a fumble recovery in the Massachusetts end zone.
And Harrison has totally outplayed his UMass counterpart, Mike McEvely. Harrison is 10 for 21 for 128 yards. McEvely only 7 for 20, due in part to the rush from the UConn defensive line for only 84 yards.
Don't forget to stay tuned immediately following this game. The Athletic Supporter with Harold Darrick, Tony Savino, and others. You never know who's going to show up from the WHUS sports staff to join in with the Athletic Supporter. The numbers to reach us on the Athletic Supporter, 429-WHUS and 486-4008.
And it'll be interesting to see if UConn holds on here, what all the hatchet men who've been calling up the supporter in the past few weeks, what they have to say about this.
And immediately following the supporter, the unnamed special from 5 to 8, and Bruce Guptill from 8 to 11 with Rock Oldies here on WHUS 91.7, the sound alternative. Okay, it's 3rd and 3 for UMass. The team switched sides, and McEvely is brought down behind the line of scrimmage by Dewey Raymond. Dewey Raymond playing another fine game for the UConn Huskies, and the Huskies have forced the Mass Minutemen to punt.
That strategy of shifting Raymond to the nose guard position has paid off handsomely today for the UConn Huskies.
So
he's quicker than the average line because his primary position is linebacker.
into punt for UMass, Tim Fontaine. Back to receive, Reggie Eccleston and Joe Marcus standing at their own 21-yard line. The snap is good. Fontaine gets the kick away, no problem. Eccleston takes it at the 29-yard line. And he's immediately brought down on the play. So it'll be 1st and 10 Huskies from their own 29-yard line. In case you just tuned in, UConn 21, UMass nothing. That's right, 21-0 UConn, 14:26 remaining in the game. Could be a sweep for UConn today. The soccer team defeated UMass 3-2 this morning at Gardner-Dow Field. 1st and 10 Huskies from their own 29. Handoff goes straight up the middle of Tony Jordan, who gets across the 30 up to about the 33-yard line, where he's driven back by the UMass defense.
One bright spot for the UMass team has been their play against the UConn running game. Jordan, coming into the game, averaged about 81 yards per game. I wouldn't think that he's anywhere near that today. He hasn't broken one longer than 5 or 6 yards today.
The defensive players for UMass that have been particularly impressive today have been Scott Kroll, Frank DiTomaso, and Eric Cregan. 2nd and 6 for UConn. Handoff goes straight up the middle again to Tony Jordan, who gets across the 35 up to about the 36-yard line. And it'll be short of a first down by about 3 yards. It'll be 3rd and 3 for the Huskies as Jerome Ingram comes out and Ken Schweitzer goes back in for the Huskies. The clock is definitely working against the UMass Minutemen at this point. They trail by 3 touchdowns. Eccleston out to the right, Schweitzer out to the left. Jordan and Addison in the power I. Play action pass. Addison dropping back the pass, now fires one for Kenny Miller, and Kenny can't hold on as he tried to make the reception at the 39-yard line. And Deke Tomaso made the hit on Kenny Miller to force the ball to pop loose. So Rusty Umbarger will come in to punt for the Huskies, and I think we would have to look for a 10-man rush here by UMass. They have to pull out all stops here.
They tried that last time, and it backfired on them. But you're right, Mike. They've got to try everything here. They need the big break.
They've got to pull out all stops here. They trail by 21-0 score. Rusty Umbarger will punt to Sullivan, who is standing back at his own 30-yard line. Kevin Sullivan. The snap is perfect, and it's good protection. A very, very high kick. Sullivan signaling for a fair catch and takes it at his own 31-yard line. So, a nice punt by Rusty Umbarger and good punt coverage by UConn forces a fair catch. It'll be 1st and 10 UMass from the 31-yard line.
Umbarger has punted very well all day long. He hasn't hit one for less than about 30 yards. He's ridden out the big, long, high spirals when they needed it most.
Yes, he has done a good job punting today for the Huskies. Newell goes out to the left, Stone out to the right. O'Connor, their star receiver, is out for the game with an injury. Lone setback. McGavely dropping straight back. The pass fires over the middle for his tight end, Taglione, who gets across the 30 to about the 31. Back to the original line of scrimmage, and Pete Mamaglia sent him down right there at the 31. They're calling it a gain of 2. I don't see how, because I thought he was brought down at the line of scrimmage. But
well, he's pretty tall and he leaned forward, so they give him that much.
Right, we'll give him that. So we'll call it 2nd and 9 now, they say. 2nd and 9 from the 32-yard line. Stone and Newell both go flanked out to the left. Backs in the power I. As McGevely calls signals. Drops straight back to pass, looking for someone to pass to. Now fires it, headed for Stone, and the ball is, it's called a reception, or is it? No. It was along in front of the UConn bench. It was difficult to pick up the play, and the ball was incomplete. So it'll be 3rd and 9 for the UMass Minutemen. And Burkhart and Brooks go out as the Huskies put in an extra defensive back, Jamie Tompkins. Along with Markland, another defensive back. 6 defensive backs in the game for the Huskies, awaiting the 3rd and 9 pass. McGevely rolls out to his right, now looking for someone to pass to, and the ball is almost intercepted by Pete Mamaglia as he cut in front of Stone, and he had nothing but open space ahead of him.
And that ball was tipped right at the line by Joe Kalinowski, or else Lamagna might have had the reception.
Nevertheless, a good play by Pete Mamaglia as he broke up the pass, and once again, Mr. Tim Fontaine is at the front for UMass. He's seen a lot of action today. Back to receive, Joe Marcus, Reggie Eccleston standing at their own 33-yard line. Fontaine gets away a short, low kick. Marcus takes it at his own 34, and he's brought down immediately by the UMass defense. Very fine punt coverage by UMass. The primary tackle was made by George Lewis. Lewis, sophomore, 6'2", 200 pounds, out of Rome, New York. The UMass roster, at least the starting roster, is made up primarily of players from the state of Massachusetts and New York, it seems. And another dog goes on the field playing frisbee.
This one catches frisbees.
A lot of festive activities here. The crowd in a festive mood as UConn leads 21-0. And number 89, Ray Benoit, jumped off sides for University of Massachusetts, and he's very upset with himself. So it'll be a 1st and 5 situation as the ball will be moved up to the 39-yard line of UConn. Everything going wrong for the UMass Minutemen. So 1st and 5 UConn from the 39. Eccleston, the home wide receiver, flanked out to the left. 3 backs in the power I. Now Jerome Ingram goes out to the right slot. The pitch goes back to Tony Jordan. He's being pursued behind the line of scrimmage. Gets up to the line of scrimmage as he's brought down by Dan Petrie. Nice tackle by Dan Petrie, sophomore out of Walpole, Massachusetts.
Well, 11:55 remaining in the game. Would you believe that UConn could shut out UMass, the number 3 team offensively in Division I AA?
It would seem inconceivable, Steve, but we're seeing it right here today. 2nd and 5 for the Huskies. Ingram out to the right, Eccleston out to the left. Handoff goes straight up the middle to Joe Addison. He breaks a few tackles across the 45 to the 46, and that's enough for a first down for the Huskies. Huskies using up valuable clock time now against the UMass Minutemen. They're not concerned with scoring here, really. They just want to use up some time against the Massachusetts Minutemen. 1st and 10. Ball just outside the 45. We'll call it the 46-yard line. Eccleston goes out to the left. Miller, the tight end, flanked over to the right. Now Schweitzer goes into the slot to the right as the backs remain on the power I. Handoff goes straight up the middle of Tony Jordan. There's a big hole, and he gets across the 50 down to about the 46-yard line.
Good blocking that time by the left side of the UConn offensive line, Tom May and Mark Flood.
Yeah, I inadvertently said the line of scrimmage was the 46. It was the 45, so it's brought up to the 46 of Massachusetts. So it'll be 2nd and 1 for the Huskies at the UMass 46. Ingram goes in motion. Now he's in the slot to the left. Handoff goes to Joe Addison. Sweeps around right end. He picks up enough yardage for the first down as he's brought down by Steve LeMay at the 44-yard line.
Mike, I got a score from other Yankee Conference action. Boston University shut out URI 7-0. And that makes 2 weeks in a row that URI has been shut out. We're still being tortured by Steve Wolfberg. So BU, I think if UMass continues to lose, this game would be in a tie, Yankee Conference-wise, with UMass.
Yeah, they would be tied with UMass. UMass was the only Yankee Conference team to defeat BU earlier in the season. Schweitzer out to the left, Eccleston out to the right. Handoff goes to Tony Jordan, who's spun around by LeMay as he gets up to about the, we'll call it the 41-yard line, a gain of 2 on the play for the Huskies.
As time ticks away against UMass, 9:56 remaining, and UConn appears to have the game well in hand.
The Huskies looking very confident. They're going to face another tough test next week as they play Virginia Military Institute down in Virginia. Virginia Military always has a strong team. 2nd and 8 as Harrison drops back the pass. He's rolling out looking for Eccleston. Eccleston grabs it at the 25-yard line. A circus catch by Reggie Eccleston. And Bob Manning, the weak safety for the UMass Minutemen, is arguing with the referee that Eccleston was out of bounds. Also over there is Scott Kroll arguing, but wait a minute.
Flag down.
We might bring this whole play back because there's a flag back in the UConn backfield, and that usually indicates a penalty against the offensive team. So unfortunately, that nice pass and catch from Harrison to Eccleston will be negated by a penalty.
Mike, I mentioned BU's victory a few moments ago. What now appears to be a very big game will be in 2 weeks up at Nickerson Field between UConn and BU.
Yes, Steve, a very, very big game. UConn defeated BU in an upset last year at Storrs. They pulled 2 big upsets late in the season, defeating BU and Rhode Island on consecutive Saturdays. And UConn proved last year they were a second-half team. Maybe they can prove it again this year.
If only they could start the season around the 15th of October. It might not be too bad for UConn.
2nd and 26 for the Huskies. Handoff goes straight up the middle to Tony Jordan, who goes to about the 43-yard line of UConn, a gain of about 2 or 3 on the play. And it'll be 3rd and 24 for the Huskies. Huskies just running out the clock here, approaching the 9-minute mark. Connecticut 21, Massachusetts nothing. Stay tuned to the Athletic Supporter immediately following our post-game show.
Yes, Harold Darrick is posting it. Okay, we mentioned you. Now get out of here.
You know I'll tune in, Harold. 3rd and 24. Schweitzer goes in motion to the left. Harrison rolling out, being pursued heavily. Still rolling out to his left, trying to escape the rush, and he just won't be able to as Frank DiTomaso brings him down at the 35-yard line. unfortunate situation for the UMass defense. So they played relatively well the course of the game. They just had a few tough breaks, a roughing the kicker call, and
It's been the offense that put the defense in the hole with an interception and the fouled up. What kind of play was it? A reverse with the end. They fouled that up. That's 14 points right there.
Right, definitely. So it's 4th and 32 as Umbarger will punt the ball away to Sullivan. The kick is an excellent kick, a booming kick. Sullivan takes it at his own 20, up to the 25, spins, and now goes off some more blockers, flags it down on the play as he crosses the 30-yard line, finally brought down by Jamie Tompkins. Come up with Matt Donovan, and I think they're going to bring it all back because of a clipping call.
I'm going to move that way back. There was a clip over on the far side. I didn't catch who it was, but that's going to nullify a fairly good kick return.
Nice kick return by Sullivan as he took the booming kick by Rusty Umbarger and spun off a few tacklers and brought the ball up to about the 32-yard line. But the ball will be moved well inside the 20-yard line now. And once again, UMass faces a tough test. They haven't had the greatest field positions during the course of the game, and you can't really expect your offense to put points on the board when they don't get the greatest field position. Let's see where they're going to place the ball down. They're going to place it down, I believe, at the 15-yard line. 8 minutes, 8 seconds remaining in the game. UConn 21, Massachusetts nothing. 1st and 10, Massachusetts from their own 15-yard line. Stone and Newell flanked out to the left. The ball is fumbled and thrown on by Pete Ramagna at the 15-yard line, and a big break for the Huskies. And it looks very bleak for the Mass Minutemen now. They trail by 21 as it is, and the Huskies will have the ball deep inside UConn, deep in Massachusetts territory. It'll be 1st and 10 UConn from the Massachusetts 15-yard line. Turnovers have definitely hurt the UMass defense today. 3 interceptions in the first half by quarterback Mike McEvely, and now a fumble recovered.
2 fumbles over the course of the entire game. So it's been the offense that's blown the game for UMass.
That's 5 turnovers for Massachusetts in the game. 1st and 10 Huskies from the 15. Harrison rolling out to his right, looking for someone to pass to. And he intended it for Eccleston, and the play was broken up by LeMay. And there are penalty flags all over the place. Let's see what's going on here.
I think there's going to be some roughing the passer in there, or some kind of personal foul.
It could be the tempers are flaring here at Memorial Stadium.
Personal foul against UConn and against UMass, offsetting penalties.
Offsetting penalties, so I believe the down will be played over. Let's wait and see. The scoreboard has 2nd down listed, but I believe it will be a 1st and 10 situation all over again. Jerome Ingram goes into the game now. And Ken Schweitzer comes out for the Huskies.
I think they're going to let that play stand, or they won't let it stand. They'll just drop it down, so it'll be 2nd and 10 at the 15-yard line. If UConn puts it in here, it's all over.
It could be because that was at the completion of the play, so the down does count. It'll be 2nd and 10 Huskies from the 15 of Massachusetts. Ingram in the slot to the left, Eccleston wide to the left, backs in the power I. It's a play-action pass by Harrison. He dumps it off to Joe Addison over the middle. Harrison inside the 15, driven out of bounds at the 13-yard line. Run out of bounds by the linebacker, Scott Kroll.
Harrison was looking for Kenny Miller down near the goal line. He was covered there very well. He was double covered by the safeties, and he got it out to his safety valve, Addison, for about a 2-yard gain. So that's 3rd and 6. Well, make it a 4-yard gain. 3rd and 6 from just inside the 12-yard line of UMass.
3rd and 6 Huskies from the 12 of UMass. Eccleston flanked out to the right. It's a play-action pass, and he flanks it out to Schweitzer, who just has it go off his fingertips at the 7-yard line, covered on the play by Scott LeMay, Steve LeMay.
Schweitzer hurt his arm, I believe. He's coming off with his arm looking very lame. He took a shot right on that right shoulder, which was the one he injured against Yale. And yes, he's trying to hold that arm very still as he jogs off the field, and he did take a good shot right there.
So Bob Seeger comes into the game to attempt a field goal for the Huskies. The ball will be placed down at the 18-yard line, making it a piercing across the 15, across the 20. Got some running room and goes across the 30 and brought down about the 32-yard line by Pete Lamanga and Matt Donovan.
7:38 left in the game. UConn up 24-0. So it looks very, very bleak for UMass unless they can get a couple of lucky breaks. breaks here and there.
Massachusetts trying to save face somewhat. They don't want to be shut out by the Huskies. The least number of points scored by them this season was in their opening game, a game which they lost to Lafayette by a score of 35-7. Since then, they have reeled off 5 straight victories and have looked very impressive in doing that. But today, they haven't been able to get on track. 1st and 10 from the 33. McEvely rolls out to his right. Now jumps it off to Stone. Stone's got some running room, and he's driven out of bounds inside the UConn 50 at about the, inside the 50 rather, into UConn territory at about the 47 of UConn. Nice catch by Mike Stone. So that's enough for a first down, and
They'll give them those. They'll give them the 10, 15-yard passes right now. They don't want any 50-yard bombs striking against them. So the defensive secondary, with the safeties especially, will just lay back and play center field, kind of trying to stop any long pass plays. They'll give them the short stuff.
1st and 10 from the 48. Newell and Stone flanked out to the left. Backs in the power I. McEvely takes the snap from Reed, hands off straight up the middle to Cliff Pedro. Gets across the 45, inside the 45 to about the 43-yard line. Gain of 6 on the play, so that'll make it 2nd and 4 for UMass. We're approaching the 7-minute mark. UConn 24, UMass nothing. Stay tuned to the athletic supporter. Why don't you call up and talk to Harold Derrick along with Tony Savino and I guess Steve Wolfberg.
No, we won't let him do that.
Steve
No, we
Wolfberg.
give him time in the soccer game. He's had enough.
He wants some time in the athletic supporter now. He just wants to be on the radio 24 hours a day, that guy. 2nd and 4 as McEvely rolls out to his right. Now he's going to keep it himself, but he's driven out of bounds by Matt Donovan at about the 41-yard line of UConn. Vicious hit by Matt Donovan. So as I said, stay tuned to the athletic supporter. Tony Savino, who's been our engineer today, will be there along with Harold Derrick. And the numbers to reach us at the athletic supporter are 429-WHUS and 486-4008.
You know, they didn't tell me that Wolfberg was going to be here. If they had, I might have gone to Tallahassee or something for the weekend.
WHUS Storrs.
The trade, Steve. You know, you have to put up with characters like Steve Wolfberg. And if I had known this when I decided to become a college sportscaster, I might have decided otherwise.
You say you're a college sportscaster.
I say that, Steve.
By the way, I'm a self-made star, Steve.
Personal
I brought you
foul.
along on my coattails.
Do everything by yourself.
Back to more mundane matters. A personal foul was called against the Huskies, and that'll make it enough for a first down. Now what's going on? Now the ball's being marched back. I don't think the referees know what's going on here. The ball was inside the 30. Now they're bringing it back to the 43-yard line, and the quarterback, McEvely, was brought down at the 41, so I don't know what is going on here.